everyone, my name is Sam Willens, your mother of Valkyries and your host of the Sword and the Ribbon podcast. Back in April, some of the Valkyrie Squad members all got together for our first meetup to climb a mountain. Just like our favorite character Nesta from A Court of Silver Flames, who climbed 10,000 stairs, which I don't really recommend by the way, we decided to climb our own realistic version of her stairs. So I asked some of the Valkyries to share their own stories about how the hike went for them. Before I introduce you to the Valkyries, here's a little bit about the mountain. At the end of April, 30 members of the Valkyrie Squad flew to Colorado, USA to meet up IRL and hike our own version of Nesta's stairs. We flew in a few days early to get acclimated to the altitude change, which I highly recommend, and spent those days talking, laughing, getting permanent jewelry, bookstore shopping, and exploring Colorado Springs. Then we all woke up early one morning to climb the mountain. We hiked the Manitou Incline, located in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And just a little history lesson for you all. In 1907, the Manitou Incline was constructed as a 1-mile funicular cable tram to aid in the construction of a nearby hydroelectric plant and water line. In 1990, the railway operations ceased to exist and the rails were removed, creating a natural staircase of railroad ties, making it appealing for hikers. While it was technically illegal to hike, many people ignored the law and hiked up the ties to the incredible view. And then in 2013, the state of Colorado decided to make it an official hiking trail, with a trail down the mountain since so many people were hiking it anyway. 525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a hike? In inches, in miles, in laughter, in gallons of water. Now, for the actual numbers, for all of you who are related to Count Dracula, there are a total of 2,768 stairs to the top of the incline. The base elevation is 6,600 feet, and the summit is 8,550 feet. Which means, yes, you are hiking up 2,020 feet in elevation gain when climbing these stairs. It is also about 0.9 mile up the stairs, and no, you don't have to go back down them to get down the mountain. There is a 3.5 mile switchback trail that is an easy hike down from the top. The average grade of the stairs is 41%, but the steepest grade is 68%, and it feels like you have to crawl on your hands and knees in those sections. While those numbers can sound scary, every single Valkyrie that started the hike was able to complete it. Like, how fucking cool is that? And now you're going to hear from those Valkyries and how it went. Hey, Valkyrie Morgan.
Hi, Sam.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
So happy to be here.
Well, this is your return offense here. So just for any new listeners, how long have you been part of the squad?
From the beginning, I think it's 10-ish months now?
Yeah, I think so. Because, from your nutrition episode, which was, I don't even know how many months ago, all the time is run together. I don't know. So, yeah, you've been here. I will say you were one of the people who commented on a TikTok video and said, we need to climb the mountain meetup.
Yes. Yeah.
And I had screenshot it and sent it to Carolyn and was like, I think we need to make this happen. And, well, we did make this happen.
Yes, we really did. Well, you guys pulled it together anyway.
Yes, but you definitely, fully planted the seed. And I don't think anyone really knew that, especially at the meetup.
I didn't realize that it was me that, I knew I commented, but I didn't realize that was, what started it.
I think Carolyn and I had brainstormed it but didn't put a whole lot of thought, and then your comment, I was like, well, if someone's asking, we should do it.
I'm so glad we did it.
Me too. So how many miles did you travel to get to the meetup?
I think it's 1,300, something like that.
Is that really how far it is?
I didn't think it was that far. I did a quick Google and I was like, oh yes, that is a lot further than I thought it was.
Wow. Well, I guess because you're much farther north than that, so I guess that makes sense. So how did you feel before you climbed?
I was a little nervous. I mean, all the training and stuff I'm going through. So I felt like I was in pretty good shape following the marathon and triathlon and all of the things. But Well, stairs have always been hard. No matter how good of shape I've been in, I'm always like huffing and puffing. So I was a little nervous.
I think from an outside view, I saw you as an endurance athlete, and I was like, "You've got this. You've got this."
I had never identified as an endurance athlete, and then like I don't know, it was like while we were climbing, you guys said something like, "How are you having this much energy?" And I was like, I don't know. I guess it's the endurance athlete."
Yeah. No, Alina. So for listeners, Alina, my sister, was there as well. Same with my sister Becca. But Alina and I were hand in hand up that hike right behind you. And yeah, she was just like, "How does she still have so much energy? Like, what? How is this? How is this happening?" I was like, "That's the endurance athlete. I'm just trying to make it up."
Well, at one point I ran up quite a few stairs just so I could take a picture of you guys, and I mean that was literally just for the picture. And you guys were like, "Oh my god, what's she doing?"
Yeah, you definitely like. There was a burst of energy, but there was one point like watching you go up the climb. I was like, you saw your endurance athlete kick in, and it fueled you up. I was like, I don't think I have that, but all your training did help you, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean all the lunges and curtsy lunges and all the things. Yes.
All the things for sure. It was just, I think, mainly the altitude.
Yeah, I can see that like really affecting people. I have my like ring that tracks everything, and my blood oxygen levels were low the whole time I was in Colorado. So like I could see that really messing with people.
Totally. So how did you feel after the climb then?
I mean, I felt amazing. I know that I'm a complete outlier here, but like I wanted to go again. It's like, but like every person that finished, I just got more and more like energized with like the power and strength of the group we were in. That I was just like, I want to like do it again right now.
Completely. I think you and I had talked about it. If we lived closer, we would probably be there more often, trying to beat our time or actually come down the staircase, not take the back trail.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I'm pretty clumsy. I don't know. I might do like a go down the back trail and then back up and then down the trail and back up because I don't know. I could just see myself just rolling the whole way down.
That's fair.
But yeah, no, I think if I lived there, I would be one of the like crazy people just like trying to go for the record or something.
Didn't they say that a record was set that day or the day before?
Oh, was there? I don't know.
Yeah. We'll clarify that later in the... Oh, wait. Vex is going to look it up. On September 14th, Remy Bonnet set the record for fastest Manitou Incline ascent, making the climb in 17 minutes and 25 seconds. Holy shit. Allie McLaughlin holds the record for fastest woman to make the ascent, completing the climb in 20 minutes, 7 seconds on July 19th, 2010. Holy shit.
Okay, maybe not the record, but I would like to just do better.
Yes. Do you think you would have made it to the top without the squad?
I think yes, but I definitely would not have been smiling and laughing the whole way. I probably would have just been like listening to my own ragged breathing and like miserable, but it was with everybody around, I was like laughing the whole way up.
Yes, totally. And then, well, you had my sister and I right behind you, just constant like hyping you up of like, she's so strong. Oh my God. Like we like solely focused on you, and we're just like, wow, we thought we were fit, but whoa.
I think it was like, the last like 200 steps, like I was like, you know what, I just have to go because otherwise if I stop, I'm like maybe not gonna keep going. So that was when I was just like, I'm done, I'm going.
I feel like that is the way for everyone, because as we watched people come up the mountain, that started to stagger out completely, because it was just like, if I stop, there's no turning back.
There's that point at some point where you're just like, it's over, just no more talking, no more, just focus on getting to the end.
You're like, there's no air anymore. Well, we did already talk about this, but would you do it again?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd want to do it again myself though. Still, like
No.
I think I would. I don't know. It makes it so much more fun having somebody there, and I think like you and Alina were really great for pacing me, because I think I would have just like tried to go and then like crawled to the end. So I think I need somebody to like pace me at the beginning and help me laugh and smile so I could keep going.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's what's so great about going in the groups. And like, we watched a bunch of like the solo people going up, and I'm like, how?
Yeah,
I would have left.
Well, there were a couple, weren't there, that, like, had passed us early on, were going so fast, and then, like, we ran into them at the part where that you either crawl or you go up sideways, and, like, we're, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, "Good job." So I think having the group to pace was really helpful.
It's good. It was just a nice camaraderie to have to make sure that like we're all going, we're all with this together.
Yeah. I don't know, so my swimming coach in high school always did this, like, thing about synergy, and I don't know if I've shared this story before, but he would pull the whole swim team out, and we would be sitting there, and he'd kinda give us a speech, and then he'd be like, "Alright," and he'd pick some random person on the team, and he'd say, "Do push-ups for 30 seconds, and, everybody else, you need to be completely silent and quiet." And so he would kinda keep track and count and say, "Oh, okay, you got 20 push-ups." And then he'd say, "All right, this time they're gonna do it again. We're gonna give them a break. They're gonna do it again, and you guys are gonna cheer them up. You're gonna hype them up. You're gonna give all the energy." And without fail, every single year, every single time, they did like 10 or more additional push-ups than they did the first time that they did it. And so it was like just a really cool to show like that having a hype, having a team, having people cheering you on, like you can do so much more.
Yeah, and we proved that for sure. Even if we got a little quiet there at the end.
But we were all there, I think, like, just the fact that, like, we all came from so many different places, like, we're all there in it together, I don't know, it was a really cool experience.
And like you said, like watching, like you're standing up at the top and you're watching everyone complete it. And it's so amazing to watch. And for anyone who doesn't know, Morgan was actually the first to hit the top of the peak. She was the very first one. That was an endurance athlete. Very first one. Alina and I followed closely behind you. And then everyone else trickled up. But you were the first. So you got to watch, at least in our chunk of group, come all the way up that mountain.
And I think, like, the energy at the time, I was too hyped up, but when I was, like, compiling the video of, like, everybody finishing, I totally, like, teared up. I was like, "Look at what we did," At the time, I think I was just too adrenaline run to, like, feel emotions, but, besides pride, I mean, but
Yeah.
then rewatching it, it was just, like, that emotional pride of, like, look at how strong we all are.
Exactly. Like you get to the top and you're like, wow, I did that. And then you watch so many other people come up and you're like, they did it. They did. And it's so amazing. Well, thank you so much, Morgan. Your story is worth telling. And thank you for sharing it with all of our listeners. Hi, this is producer Carolyn, and I'm going to read an email submission from Valkyrie Anna. She says, I've been a Valkyrie since October of 2022. I traveled a little over 1,600 miles to get to the squad meetup. There were two quotation mark before the hike feelings for me. The first was when I was on the plane before meeting any of the squad. I was so worried about whether I would be able to complete the hike because I still felt like I would be doing it alone. But once I met the Valkyries, it became so clear, even though we hadn't met in person, that these were my people. I wouldn't be doing this alone. I had my team just like Nesta. Then, immediately before the hike, I was so emotional, still intimidated by the stairs, so many, but also I was just so moved by the community that was there. Valkyrie, Carrie, and I are both DC area Valkyries, but we hadn't met until Colorado Springs. She and I hiked together, and I finished like a minute behind her. I just remember getting to the top and us crushing each other in this huge hug. I was so proud of myself and what I achieved, not only physically, but mentally. I could not have done it without Carrie, the squad. Sam has created such a great community that everyone felt safe to try something new like this crazy challenge. I knew that no matter how slow I had to go, the squad would be with me to make sure we all got up the mountain. I would definitely do it again. I would love to attend another meetup, meet more Valkyries, catch up with each other, and kick some ass on another challenging hike. I recommend the squad to people all the time. The workouts are awesome, obviously, but the community is where it's at. Hi, Valkyrie Des.
Hey, Sam.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited to do the thing.
I know. And for all of our listeners, this was all Dez's idea. So just calling her out. You're hearing from all these lovely Valkyries because of Des. So Have to start off, how long have you been part of the squad?
So I joined the squad before Valkyrie started. I was in the micro squad, and you were like, hey, cool new Valkyrie thing. And I was like, I'm all in. And I was like, I thought we were Thor's Valkyries. What is ACOTAR? And so I actually started the program and was like not understanding what it meant when you're like, oh, Cassie would be so proud of us working on our core and all this. And I was like, who's Cassian? And I was like, oh yeah, read the books. And then I binged all the books in less than a month.
Yes, I believe I did the same exact thing. It's hard to put down for sure.
It was. And for a while there, it was like, okay, you're not allowed to read the book until you do your workout because it's so much easier just to read the book than it was to work out.
In theory, this sounds nice, but I could just read it and be done with it and it's fine. Well, I'm very glad that you did read the books because I do remember when you first said that you had read them, you're like, oh, it all makes sense now. Everything that you do makes sense now.
Yes.
Well, how many miles did you travel to get the meetup? I heard you traveled a very far ways.
It was a whopping 75 miles from my house to the Kinship Landing. Says I'm a Colorado native.
So you were already acclimated to the elevation.
For the most part, yeah. I think Colorado Springs might be like 500 more degrees in elevation than where I live. It was hardly any.
Yeah, I was saying, like, I want to say that's not bad, but I actually don't know if that's like actually that bad.
We walked 2,000 elevation on the hike. So, in comparison, that was nothing.
Yes. In the grand scheme of things, yeah, it's barely a drop of the change. But, well, I'm so glad you're able to like come down and be a part of everything. How did you feel before the climb?
Before the climb, I was super excited and super terrified because like I really wanted to do it and it's only a mile hike. Like this seems possible and probable. And then I'm like, I don't like stairs and I could fall going upstairs because I did it at home and, you know, that sounds terrifying. And so like up until actually like the day of, you know, the day before some of us met and did the Gardens of the Gods. And I was like, you know, I could just walk twice. The Gardens of the Gods are so peaceful and zen. And it's not evil. So I was hemming and hawing whether or not I felt like I had the courage to do the mountain climb up until the day of the climb.
What finally like got you to be like, okay, we're doing this? Like what like pushed you?
It was you're not alone. No matter what, we'll have Bex and Mia at the back and we won't let you fall behind. And it was like, okay, well, worst case scenario, I'm at the back of the pack and I will finish maybe and we can do this. And then there was there's drop-offs if you need to leave and climb down the mountain because I think there's like 3 different spots where you can stop if it gets too much.
Yeah, you're like, okay, if all else fails, we can just, there was no shame in turning around and be like, that's all. So where did you end up falling within the whole like order of people?
So I tried really hard to stay with you guys in the front of the pack, which was a terrible decision because you guys walked so fast, it felt like.
We were going so slow, we felt like.
And so like, I'm like, okay, I got this. And, about 200 steps, I started to see you guys pull away, but I'm no longer with the back of the pack. And so I'm kind of in like a couple Valkyries. There might be like 3 or 4 of us that are in vision sight, but not together. And so about step 200, I was like, I'm done. I'm stopping and taking a breath. Like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And so I was probably middle-ish somewhere.
And then from what I recall and like seeing pictures, because you're obviously behind me, like you ended up getting like a little group with you.
I did. And so if it wasn't for the group, I wouldn't have finished. The group that was with me and that we hiked together because the power we had just coming together was immense. So myself, I'm hiking up a couple hundred steps and then I'm pausing and then I see Morgan with a Y pass and she'd walk up 100 steps and then I'd pass her as she's taking her little break. And, at one point we stopped and I was like, I'm exhausted. And she's like, this is insane. And so she's like, hey, do you want some music to listen to? And I was like, yeah, I thought I would be, more like chit chatty. And I ended up isolating myself unintentionally. And so I didn't bring my headphones. And so she's like, well, share with me, if nothing else, we'll stay together because we have to listen to the music and it'll help boost your rhythm and everything. And we'll go. And so we're going and we start hopscotching with somebody else. And then I was like, why don't you we're already going together-ish. Let's just go together. And so we started like, okay, let's make it to the next shady spot. Let's make it to another 100. Let's make it to this. And we just slowly kept growing. And then we see her and same thing. And, we're like, hey, walk with us. And she's like, no, I'm good. I don't want to slow you guys down. I'll do my own thing. And so then we kind of like unspokenly just stayed like 100 within her. Like if we saw her stop, we'd stop in the shade. And so she'd pass us. And then we kind of like, I realize you don't want to join us, but we're here for you. And at one point she was like, let's go together. And then we got to the last drop off. And this is like 1,800 steps in. And the last bale, and you look up and the last section of steps is like straight up and down, and it just looks awful. And so she's like, I don't think I can go on. I've got this leg pain. It's just too much. I think I'm going to bail out. And we're like, no, we got you. Walk with us. We can slow down more. We can do 10 steps at a time if that's what it takes. Like, we're here for you. Let's do this together. Let's finish this climb. And she's like, no, I really don't think I can do this. And so she stopped and she asked us to go on. So we went on a whole 100 steps, sat in the shade, and we're just sitting there staring at her. Totally creeper vibes. And you see her make a phone call and you see the tears. And like, then we're all like, well, we can't leave her until we see her leave us. We won't leave her behind, but we gave her the distance that she asked for. And so she finally climbs up another 100 steps and she's like, I decided it was too much to quit. And when I'm going to finish this, no matter how much this hurts, and I'm going to make it through. And then we're all crying because we watched you decide that you could do this. And we're here for you. And so we gave her another break because, we've been sitting there and she just walked more steps. And so she's like, all right, let's do this. And so then we continued. All right, shady spot, another 25 steps. Oh my God, this is death. Where's the next bailout? Like, I need a break. And then you start taking on these other rules. And like Morgan at one point was like, I'm feeling shaky. And I was like, well, eat something. We brought snacks. Recharge your body. Let's take a snack break. Let's take a sunscreen break. Let's take a water break. And, you're just kind of there helping each other. And for me, being able to help somebody else made it easier for me because then I'm not thinking about how hard it is for me. I'm thinking about making sure Morgan doesn't die because she forgot to eat a snack. And so like my brain kind of zenned out and it was like, oh my gosh, we can do this. And we got to the top, and one of Bailey's friends was a little bit ahead of us, and I didn't know her either, but she went and she got to the top, and we're up there talking to her, and she's like, yeah, I was reading A Court of Silver Flames the entire time I'm walking. And I got to finish the book on the last 100 steps of this climb. And like all of us are just like, oh my God, tell me how amazing that was. Like I can't fathom the power. And I cried during that book. So I don't know how you handled the last several hours.
Same. Like I was an emotional wreck. Like, and to be on the mountain when Nesta was on the mountain.
Right. Like I wish I could go back and reread the book and do it again in some ways. Like I would go. Part of me wants to go reclimb the mountain and be like, I felt that. I know what you feel now. Like I did that together. But I'm very glad that I read it and I can't have that experience.
To have that experience is just something
mind-blowing.
Yeah, mind-blowing. The fact, like, did she plan that? Like, was that also, like, it never occurred to me, like you said, Morgan brought music. Like, it never occurred to me, like, bring headphones on the hike. I don't know why. I was just like, probably like you, like, oh, we're going to socialize, even though I've done the hike before. So I was like, I'm gonna talk to people. I could have brought headphones the entire time.
Well, in part of it, you're sitting there and you're so focused on climbing that mountain and you don't talk while you're climbing. You talk on the breaks, at least for me, because you're like, oh my God, if I don't focus on this step, I'm going to die.
Yeah, you're blind, like not blinded, but you're just so focused on what is directly in front of you. You can't like absorb anything else.
Right.
And yeah, it's true. Like you talk on your breaks, you take multiple breaks, and on your break you go, what are we doing? Like, why are we here? I can't wait for food at the end. Like, rather than like goo packs or granola bars.
And like you Google, I Googled beforehand the average time it takes to do the hike. And it was like, it's like an hour and a half. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound bad. And then you're like, the fastest time is 16 minutes. And my brain never computed that fast time really affected the average because it took me about, I think 3-4 hours to do the hike.
Yeah. And the longest part is the way down. The way down actually just sucks.
Now here I could say the way down was worse than climbing up the mountain in my brain because I didn't know how far the climb down was. So that was its own mental challenge because climbing up, you see the top of the mountain. You're like, this is the goal. I'm done. Climb down, you're like, did I turn the right way? There's no signs. Am I lost on this mountain?
Yeah, like, am I gonna die out here? Like, you're like, I have signal, so I could call for help.
I only brought so much water and snacks.
Yeah, like, right? You're like, can I last this long? I don't know. Like, and then you're just taking endless switchbacks, and you're like, I just want to be at the bottom.
Well, and like the footing's worse on the way down too. Morgan fell, I think, twice climbing down just because it's so much more gravelly. Not bad falls, but like you're slipping and you're like, oh my God, are you okay? Please don't tell me you sprained your ankle. Nope, we're good. Great, moving on.
Personally, like, I think if, like, now that I've personally done that hike twice now, then if I were to ever do it another time, I would try to hike back down the stairs, even though it's scary. I don't want to do all the switchbacks getting down. I don't recommend going down those stairs, but like it's highly appealing because you're like, well, I'll get down there so much faster. It's a straight shot.
Well, and you're going up. You're so mad at all those people climbing down. And climbing down, you're like, I understand. It makes sense now.
You're like, you're in my way. I had to like consolidate my group over to this side, and you're just ruining the flow here. It says one way, and you're like, no, you're right. You've got it right.
It was an adventure for sure.
No, completely. And then like the bonds that you create with even the people that you went with, or like you ended up joining from Valkyrie Squad, but like you end up bonding with these people.
You know, the random people, not as important, but like the Valkyries themselves slowly kind of cluttering. Because you got to think about it. All of us must have been in this, I can do this on my own mindset. I don't need help. I don't need someone to reach out their hand for me. I got this. But they're there and they do. And you finish it because someone said, I'm here for you. Take my hand. Let's go.
So the woman you were waiting for at the halfway point, that was Robin. The fact that you're reaching out your hand to her is for you to know and for our listeners to know, like, Robin does tell her story on this episode. Quite amazing to hear both sides of your guys' story. But the fact that you reached out your hand to multiple people and not just Robin, but like I think it deeply affected Robin. And the fact that like you kind of had a mutual like hand reach with Morgan, which is adorable. And it was their music and how it bonded you and got you through the hike. And that was going to be my next question. If you could have made it to the top without the squad.
No, before Morgan and I kind of like bonded together and shared the music, I was like, how far until the next bailoff? Because I don't want to do this anymore. As horrible as that sounds, I didn't mean to isolate myself, but you're lonely and all you have is your own thoughts and you don't have anyone that you can see because, you know, sometimes you look down the mountain and you can't see Valkyries. You look up the mountain and you can't see Valkyries. And every once in a while, if Morgan's not in the shade or hiding, I can see Morgan, but I can't always. And so you're just like, I don't think I have the energy to do this alone. I don't have the willpower to keep walking up. I'm not even a quarter of the way through. And how in the world am I going to keep doing all these stairs by myself? It just felt so soul crushing to know that you're giving up on being able to hit this mountain because you know you can physically keep trying, but you don't have the ability to be like another 100 steps. And then I still have 2,000 more steps to go. You know, it was just so daunting looking at that mountain by yourself. And you're like, no way. And then you're like, music. Okay, well, we can at least pass this bail off and make it to the next and then redecide if I feel the same way. And by that bail off, you're like, shish, I've almost conquered this mountain. What is the point of giving up now? We've got this.
Would you do it again, though?
Not alone. If we had a Valkyrie group if the Colorado Valkyries were like, Des, you live close by, let's go do it again. I'd be like, oh my God, I hate you so much, but we can do this again. That's the only reason. I told my firefighters who was like, I saw you did the hike. Let's go do it together. And I was like, no.
You're like, nah, never gonna happen.
You gotta be Valkyrie Squad in order to get me to climb that mountain again.
Yeah, you're like, read the books, join the program, and then we'll chat about this. Because it definitely wouldn't hold the same significance, I'm sure.
Don't get me wrong. She's a great firefighter, but she does the hike at least once a month with a 45 weight pound on her back. She's a whole whopping 4'11", and I'm like, you're going to kick my ass. It's just, there is no way in the world that I'm going to stay with you and you're going to leave me because I'm going to be holding you back. Not happening. I need to know that you're going to be my Valkyrie who's going to be like, Des, let's go.
Like, she'll pace herself with you to help you get to the top. Like, yeah, I think there's one interview that we were talking about it. There's like this one point when you hit the top of the mountain. I don't know if your group hit it, where it's like you all tend to hit your own stride and you just start to finish like the last like 50 steps by yourself, because you're just like, if I stop right here right now with you, if I slow down, I can't. I know I won't continue on. From standing at the top and watching people come up, like you see the like tight knit group start to space out basically, to get to the top. Did your group do that at all?
I don't think so. I think all of our spacing was the beginning. Like we might have been like a total of 10 steps between all of us, maybe towards the end. Like it was, except for Bailey's friend, and she was already up there. But the rest of us were like within 10-ish steps, just keep going.
Amazing. I again, like I was like, a lot of us, I think at that top group were kind of like, I gotta go. If I stop right here, I'm never moving again. Some of us like hit that point. It was like, or like people would start to slow down. You're like, I can't match your pace. I gotta go by. And it's like you want, and at least from my experience, like being at that point and being like, I want to cheer you on, but I have nothing in me. I can cheer you on from the top. So that's ended up like you got to the top and then you looked down and like cheered everyone else on.
Well, and see, towards the end, we started breaking way more frequently. Like we were 25 steps, find a shade. It's okay, we got this. Let's let's go 50 because I see a good spot for us to stop together as a group. Okay, and you just kind of like, and we did talk about it. Like, what's our next goal? Where are we going to? What looks good? And like we were constantly like, shady spot, 25. I don't see anything. Let's just hit 100. And so like we have this like common small goals. And so the top wasn't even like the cherry on top. It was like, let's just get to the next one. So I don't think we had that like, I see 100 steps left, let's just power through. It was like, shady spot.
No, I think those are good. I think for anyone to do climb a mountain, I think it's better to look at it in that way of like, okay, especially because they have markers on those steps, it is kind of nice to be like, okay, when we see marker 170, like we stop there. Or I think they paced it by 100. So like you look and we're stopping at this marker. There's a shady spot. And for surprisingly, for the mountain being completely in the sun, like all day long, there's a lot of shady spots and a lot of like turn-offs to like rest. That's what's incredible. And what makes it, at least out here in California, like a lot of our hikes, especially like the more extreme ones close by to me, they're just straight sun and there's like no shade. And you're like, no, fuck that. I'm not going.
I can't imagine doing all sun. Just the additional exhaustion from that.
So to wrap it all up, would you recommend the Valkyrie Squad?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. If for nothing else in the friendships, Bex and I bonded running through a castle, and Morgan and I bonded over music climbing a mountain, and Cheyenne and I bonded over both being in the medical field in some way. Like there's tons of these little things that, we don't live anywhere close together. We don't do anything other than have a passion for a book and a desire to try to make ourselves better by working out with something that we enjoy. And it has given us amazing friendships that I hope never go away. Bex and I try to make each other accountable and work out more frequently, because in my 6 months here, I haven't finished yet, but I want to finish the program. And I just, I keep resetting myself because I don't have that person to hold my hand on the mountain and reach out for me. And currently Bex is that person. And she's like, Des, here's my workout today. How's yours going? And you go into novice and you're like, oh my gosh, I hit day 3, doing great. You see someone's on day 7, you're like, yes, I remember that one. That day sucks, or that day's great, or whatever. And you've got this like community who's there to be like, hey, it's okay. You're doing great. Plus, here's a cool book if you want to read a new one.
Yes, there's a ton of book suggestions and there's a ton of shopping suggestions. It's a whole lot of fun.
Valkyrie Squad is 100% something to do. And I even share with my sister. We work out together now when she's home for college.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You did tell me that. I love when people are like, oh, my husband joined in, or my sister's in town, so we did a workout together. It's cute that you like, even your sister is like in on it. But has she read the books?
Nope. She has no idea. She just enjoys the workout.
Well, thank you, Des, so much for coming on and telling your story. It is definitely one that is, every story is worth telling, but yours is always incredible. So thank you.
I can't wait to hear everyone else's.
Hi, Valkyrie Robin.
Hi, Sam.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I apologize for being a little late.
Oh, you are totally fine. We all wait for each other. I think we learned that up on the mountain.
For sure.
So I want to know how long you've been part of the squad.
From the beginning. So I stumbled upon you on TikTok due to Book Talk, of course, and started watching all your TikToks and then heard you talking about this group and immediately signed up. So, and haven't regretted a minute of it.
The world of TikTok still surprises me so much. So how many miles did you travel to get to the meetup?
A little over 700.
Oh, so not too far.
No, I know other people went a lot further. So
it's crazy how far so many flew. All literally across the US. Like it's just I wish we had like the little map that has like the little
dots. And
the little dots and the little plane. Like Indiana Jones where they were doing the little like plane hopping.
Oh, I love that.
That's what I want. Can someone animate that for us? So how did you feel before you climbed?
Surprisingly neutral, I guess is the best way to describe it. I was so excited for the meetup in general. It was completely outside of my comfort zone to go meet a bunch of people I have never met in person by myself. And so I was so excited about that part of it. The climb kind of was in the back of my mind. I think I was more nervous about meeting everybody than the actual climb part of it. And so I didn't have time to focus on that. So when I got to it, I just had a mentality of, I'm just going to give it a try and whatever happens, happens.
So we did actually have Des on earlier.
My savior on the climb.
Yes, so we do know like a little bit of her side. So I want to hear your side. I think we all want to hear your side of you going up the mountain and you hit the turnaround point about halfway.
Yeah. So I started the climb kind of not really teaming up with somebody. I was just going to do my own pace. So I really wasn't worried about anybody else. I was like, I'm just going to focus on my own pace. And I kept kind of passing and then getting passed by Des and the group of girls that she was with. So it was kind of like a back and forth. And by halfway, I was hurting and I was getting really, really nervous and thinking, I can't do this. So I kind of stepped to the side and they kind of stepped aside with me. And I was like, I'm just going to sit for a second. I don't know. And everybody was super supportive. Like, you can do this. But at the same time, if you don't think you can, there's no shame in turning around. Like, you do whatever is best for you. So I kind of told them, go ahead. I'm just going to sit for a second. And I started texting my husband and started crying. It was tears of pain because my legs were killing me. And also tears of, I don't think I can do this. And super disappointed in myself for not being able to do it. So my husband kind of gave me a couple of words of encouragement, like, you've got this. And the same thing. If you don't, it's fine. And finally I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm halfway. I'm just going to keep going. And then the group Des was with kind of never left me after that. And it was amazing because I would go, they could have passed me at any time. And they were just like, nope, we're in this together. We're not leaving anybody behind. If you're going to do this, we're going to do this together and we're going to finish this together. And we're just going to take it nice and slow. And we're all hurting and we've got this. And it caused me to cry a couple more times. Just like, oh my God, this is so special. And it was really amazing. And I'm glad I didn't quit. I'm glad I had them by my side because I would not have finished it without them. I guarantee it. I would not have finished it.
Because I had heard towards the bottom of the mountain, like when we got down there, like of you had wanted to turn around and that Des had like waited for you guys. And I didn't realize like she was saying that she like hiked up a couple steps and gave you your space, but like they were all like, I don't know, like 50 steps above you, just waiting for you. And I don't know if you knew they were like right there when you were calling and texting your husband.
It wasn't until, because I wasn't facing them, I was just looking down. And it wasn't until I was off the phone with my husband and kind of caught my breath and was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I turned and then they were like, yay, and saw me coming and they all just waited for me. And it was a really, really special moment. And it was
That's so sweet.
It was very cool. I felt very in tune with the group the whole time. But on that climb, it was really like, wow, they've got my back. Like they're not going to leave me and we're going to do this together. And it was really special. And again, I cried like 3 more times walking up. So
I'm getting like misty-eyed.
like, oh my God, it was so sweet.
Like the fact that we were all strangers until that moment where we all met up. And then, like, yeah, you started it alone and you made friends on the mountain. They waited for you. They didn't have to, and they did. And it's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it was one of those, it was a life-changing trip. It was one of those trips that, like, you realize what you can do. You realize that it's okay to lean on other people, which me personally is an extremely difficult thing for me to do. I am a wife, an employee, and a mother of 3. I take care of everything. So leaning on other people is difficult for me. And I had to lean on people that during that climb in order to make it, and which was an eye-opening thing for me. Like, it's okay to lean on other people and ask for support and ask for people to wait for me, because that wasn't something I kept telling them, just go. And they were like, nope, we're not leaving. And I was like, okay, thank you.
I think that's what we all forget, is that you can ask for help. And I think the books portrayed that a lot, is they reached out their hand and you took it. And nobody had to, but they did. And they had your back no matter what.
Exactly. And it was amazing, and it was very special and more moving than I think that they realized it was at the time, especially knowing, I mean, I think this whole group is strong, independent women. So asking for help is probably difficult for the majority of us. So it was very special to have that and to finally just give up and accept it, for me to be like, okay, thank you, because I can't do this if you guys aren't going to wait for me. I will quit.
An experience you can't, like, repeat ever either.
No.
And how did you feel after the climb?
Relieved. It was over. Super proud of myself when I got to the top, and, like, I did it. Oh my God. Like, cheers, smiles, more tears probably. I'm very proud of myself, but then the idea of, I'm so glad that's over.
So I guess that'll lead us to our next question. Would you do it again?
I won't. I would tell everybody else. Actually, I have a friend who just moved up to the incline area and is going to go do the climb next week. And she asked me, what do I have to be prepared for? I was like, it's ridiculously difficult and you'll never want to do it again, but it's totally worth it. So that's kind of, I would encourage anybody who hasn't to give it a try and go for it. But if somebody was like, hey, do you want to go do the incline again? I would probably laugh in their face and be like, no, I'm good. Thank you, though. I've been there, done that. I can cross it off the list. We're not going to go through that again. I wouldn't have Des with me to, like, get me through it. So.
That is very true. But would you do it again if you had Des with you?
The climb, no, but I would do something else.
I love your honesty. Like, no.
No, never again. I will never do that climb again. But it has made me realize that I can do more things than I think I can, because I did not feel prepared for that climb, and I still managed to mind over matter and just get it done. Whatever you plan for next year, if you plan for something for next year, I'm down. But if it's the incline again, I'll be like, oh, you guys are awesome. Have fun.
Every guest we've had on is like, so, like, next year we're gonna go someplace else, right?
Do something else, right?
I haven't even thought that far yet, so TBD.
At least you know the consensus is we don't want to go do the incline again.
It's no, we want to go see other locations, so this is our excuse to go travel other places. So okay, we will see in the future. Now, would you recommend the squad?
Absolutely, 100%. And like I said, the everyone coming together and being there for each other, and everybody being so open and friendly, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Nobody judges you. And it's just a very welcoming and comforting environment of people who care about you, don't necessarily know who you are, and still somehow care about you, but also push you to do better or do more, and encourage you that you can do that. So I would 100% recommend it to every single person I know. I think it's an incredible community, and I am very happy that I fell upon you on TikTok.
I am very happy that you did as well, even though I was like, I'm just putting this out there. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I know. And then all these crazy people decided to sign up. We were like, we all love these books, and yay, mass. And yeah, we're down to be Valkyries because we're awesome.
You guys all are awesome. And I will always say this. You all are so awesome for even just picking up the book and the program and doing it.
Yeah, I love it. And one of my favorite things is that every time I open my Nook now, I have everybody's signatures on the cover of my book, of my Nook. So I love it.
To our listeners who don't know, and we'll post this on our social media, but we did a little book signing, like a yearbook, for everyone brought their books or their Kindles, and we passed it around and we signed it. So we had a more physical memento of the trip.
And it definitely makes me smile.
It's sitting on my, like, next to my desk, my version. I have not read any of the, I've not read anyone's yet because I do not want to cry. Like, I'm terrified of all the emotions that'll start pouring out of me.
You need like a long weekend to do that where you don't have anything going on.
Yes, completely. And I sit there. It's literally right there within eyesight and eye line. And I'm like, I will get to it eventually. And I'm sure after this episode releases, everyone's going to message me saying you need to read it.
Waiting for your responses.
I know. They're like, I wrote something like a stupid pun and we're waiting for you to laugh at it. So, okay, maybe after this episode releases, we'll get to it.
You can do a whole episode of your responses to what everybody wrote.
Well, somebody write that down. Okay, well, thank you, Robin, so much for coming on and sharing your story with us and with all of our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for starting this amazing group.
Of course. And yeah, I'm so glad you were able to come on and tell your story. I was really hoping you were.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hi, this is producer Bex, and I'm going to be reading an email submission from Valkyrie Alista. She says, I joined the squad in early November 2022, so about 7.5 months as of now. It looks like I traveled about 1,555.55 miles to get to the meetup in Colorado Springs. Before the climb, I felt a little nervous, but mostly excited, hoping that I prepared enough, excited to do this thing I'd been looking forward to for months, worrying because I was already feeling the altitude difference. And after seeing the incline, laughing hysterically with the others in my car saying, oh, it's an actual mountain. I thought we were just going to climb some stairs. After I climbed, I felt accomplished and so incredibly honored to have done it together with this amazing group of Valkyries who for months have been supporting each other through all of our real life metaphorical mountains. And then we had the opportunity to physically hold each other's hands and push each other up a literal mountain. I cried at the top because it really felt like the culmination of everything we'd been through together. The overwhelming feeling was gratitude and love. Do I think I would have made it to the top without the squad? Well, I don't think I would have been there trying in the first place without them. As much as I like casual hiking, the confidence to attempt a physical challenge like that is something I did not have before joining the squad. But if I had been there climbing that day on my own, I do think physically I could have done it, but it would not have been fun or pleasant. As my little climbing group quickly discovered, I have a fear of heights. When we first got to the steeper part, I tried shooting at the head because I thought the best way to handle it was just to plow through and not give myself a chance to think. But when I did need to stop for a break, the fear really kicked in. Crying alone on the side of a busy trail is not an experience I'd recommend, by the way. So I waited for the group to catch up, and we did the rest of it together. We were dancing, laughing, singing, taking plentiful breaks, sharing snacks, and when I got scared and had to crawl, someone would keep a hand on my back so I knew they were behind me. They would stand in front of me during breaks so I wouldn't see how high up we were. Thanks to all of them, an experience that could have been nothing but hard and terrifying, and all up in my own head, was full of so much fun and joy and community and love that I never expected to get from vertical stairs up a mountain. Again, what really hit me at the end was how perfect of a metaphor this was for the rest of my life as well. At some point on the hike, I made a comment about how hard it is to ask for help, even when it could make a big difference. And someone replied that sometimes you shouldn't need to, that people around you will be there reaching out their hands. That stuck with me, and so perfectly encapsulate one big way Valkyrie Squad has changed my life. Would I do it again? Oof, probably. Maybe next time we could do a different mountain so I can go in with just as much naive optimism as the first time. Would I recommend the squad? Is that a trick question? Of course. I would recommend it to anybody that it appeals to. It's definitely special, and not everyone wants or needs a badass, bookish, sword fitness mental health club. But if any part of that sounds good to you, definitely give it a shot. Hi, this is producer Bex, and I'm going to be reading an email submission from Valkyrie Cassie. She says, I joined the squad sometime around Christmas of 2022. According to Google Maps, I traveled about 1,400-ish miles to the meetup. I'm sure the flight line is somewhat shorter. Before the climb up the mountain, I felt equal parts nervous and excited. I had given myself a goal of making it to the bailout point, so I wouldn't be too disappointed if I didn't make it to the top, since this was so much more intense than any other hike I had done before. Literally, up until we were dividing up into vehicles to head out, I wasn't sure if I was going to stick with the Garden of the Gods walk or attempt the incline hike. Sam asked the group who was going to which one and made eye contact with me, and I knew she'd want me to try. So I did. After I climbed, I felt incredible. I cried when I made it to the top, in a good way, I swear. And even though my feet were aching the whole way down the switchbacks, I couldn't have cared less. I was so incredibly proud of myself. I hadn't given up, but pushed through. I made it to the top, and I overcame my fears and self-doubt. Would I have made it to the top without the squad? I wouldn't have even started it without the squad. But for real, the caboose group of the climbers were like my own personal hype squad the whole way up. And every moment leading up to the climb was full of awesome Valkyries, making friends, and building each other up. After hanging out for a few days, this group of amazing people felt like family, and I couldn't have made it without them. Would I do it again? Quite possibly. I don't know that I'd do it by myself, but I'm down for another Valkyrie trip. I already do recommend the squad and will again in a heartbeat. It has changed my life in such a positive way, and no matter what sort of support I'm looking for, I can find it there. I love you all.
Hello, Valkyrie Mia.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad today.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
I'm always excited to be on the podcast.
I know. And so for our lovely listeners, Mia is one of our producers. She was also in our episode of The Sword and the Lore, which is episode 3. And so she's pulled back the Iron Curtain, and she's here talking live about her experience on the mountain.
Oh, I loved the mountain. It was so fun.
So before we get into it, how long have you been part of the squad?
I signed up for pre-launch, so I have been here since the first day last September. It's been like 10 months now.
So how many miles did you travel to get to the meetup?
So I'm in Southwest Michigan, and from here to Colorado Springs is right around 1,100-ish miles. It's a little bit more.
Like, you look at the map and you're like, it's not that far.
Well, and like I've been on a lot of road trips, like in the car as a kid and everything. So when I think about it, it's just like, oh, it's just a few days. It's not a big deal.
No, it's a big deal though, because you came a long ways to meet a bunch of strangers that you've got to know through Discord for the past, like, at that point it was like 8 months, I think.
Yeah. Nobody felt like a stranger though. Like I heard people's voices. Like I heard Morgan in the lobby of the hotel, and I literally spun around and like just pointed at her, and I was like, you, and like tackle hugged each other and everything. I did the same thing with Voss when I met them at another part of the trip, and it was really fun.
Well, how did you feel before you climbed the mountain?
Before seeing it and like just looking online, I was like, well, it's a challenge, but I'm pretty confident about it. I've been training a lot. I've hiked a lot as a kid, that was pretty easy. But then I saw it driving up, and I was like, what the fuck are we doing today? We're doing that. And it just, like, to compound the issue, I also started my cycle like the day before the climb. So I was feeling like a bag of rocks. I was just like, no, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to happen.
It was funny, like, speaking of cycles, though, like, there was actually a lot of people on their cycles as different lengths.
So many of us, like, we synced up somehow on Discord. And then once we got on the climb, we're like, oh, yeah, no, we're all on the ride right now. It's like, oh, great. That's cool.
The whole group camaraderie for that. We're having all the same experience down to our periods.
Literally right down to the period. It was pretty intimate there.
Yeah. So how did you feel after you climbed?
Elated and empowered and overwhelmed. I cried. I cried when I got to the top. I started hyperventilating a little bit, and then Bex literally like caught me. We were in the same hiking group, and we like caught each other, and we were just crying together and hugging each other. And I was 100% overwhelmed with feeling accomplished and powerful and just like literally on top of the world. When you look down the stairs at the top, like you're literally on top of the fucking world. And that was a type of pride that I hadn't felt in a really long time. It was fucking great.
That's amazing. I love hearing everyone's like little stories. Now, for those who don't know, like Mia was actually in the group with a lot of people who were the last group to go up the mountain and to complete the mountain. And I heard many stories because I was in the first group. I heard many stories. I had a lot of anxiety leading up to the hike. And then Bex was in your group, texting me, making sure, easing my anxiety. I was like, oh my God, is everyone okay? Like, oh my, I just killed a bunch of people coming up the mountain.
You know, I remember I like stopping for like water and snacks, and Bex was just like, oh, Sam's having an anxiety attack higher up on the mountain because we're way down here. So let's just take a group photo to alleviate her stress a little bit. We're all alive. It's okay.
Yep. Yeah, there was quite a, you had a journey. I had a journey. It was very different, but I heard so many stories of what you and Liana did on the mountain for your group and your surrounding mountain goers, stair climbers who were complete strangers.
As much like anxiety as I had seeing the incline from the drive up and the way that I like was physically feeling, just because you tend to feel kind of low when you're on your period. Once we started moving, I was in my element. I was a cheerleader for everybody in our group and everybody around. I was twerking every 100 steps. I'm sure there's video somewhere of it happening in somebody's camera. We got to like the really steep parts where you're like practically crawling and everything. And I was like, come on, tits over knees, let's go. And everybody around us was laughing. And there was one lady who like, she looked at her boyfriend and she's just like, you can go. I'm going to stay with these guys. This is where it's at. Like, this is the fun part. We had so much fun.
You helped make it such an enjoyable experience for everyone in your group and those around you.
We were all facing some kind of anxiety going up the mountain, whether it was completing it or, you know, being afraid of heights or something. Like we all were facing a challenge of our own. And so like when I'm faced with difficult situations, I'm always laughing about it. I make jokes about everything. It's actually kind of terrible. But that's how I cope. And so I started trying to like make it fun and like just a goofy thing that we were doing. Like, who the fuck climbs a mountain in their free time? We do. Valkyries do. So I made it fun. I tried to make it more fun anyway, so that nobody was focusing on their fear or on any insecurities that they were dealing with on the way up the mountain.
It was a nice distraction for everyone.
I hope so. I hope I wasn't too obnoxious. At one point I was just like, okay, I'm kind of annoying myself with this, so maybe I should be quiet a little bit. I was singing like, bitch, you're doing a good job. That was my chant, like all the way up the mountain and I got kind of loud, and at one point I was just like, you know what, I am annoying and this is hard. So I'm just gonna be quiet for a minute.
Well, I'm sure like at some point you just can't breathe anymore too. So you're like, I'll just take this moment and regroup.
Oh yeah. No, just at one point laughing was just like, the air is really thin up here. This isn't helping my head. Like my brain is kind of foggy here. Like now is not the time.
So you were a huge part of getting your squad, your like little group up the mountain. Do you think you could have done it without them?
I definitely think that it would be lackluster doing it by myself. It would not have been nearly as fun without everybody that was in my group. We were all so supportive of each other and making jokes the whole time. And, you know, there are parts of the trail that get really narrow. So you're kind of like packed together where you're single file going up the mountain. And there was constant jokes. Does my ass look okay from back there? Or, you know, like, oh, we were all like, it wasn't just me. Like, yes, I was loud and obnoxious about it, but everybody was so supportive and was really trying to make sure that all of our group got up the mountain. Nobody was going to be left behind. We were going to make sure that everybody got to the top and got to feel that accomplishment and that pride.
Absolutely amazing. Now, would you do it again, though?
Absolutely. Let's go.
I think that's the most surprising part is a lot of people are like, you get to the top sometimes, you're like, I don't think I could do that again. And then a couple days or a couple hours go by and you're like, I could do it again.
You know what? Honestly, Valkyrie month in particular helped me so much with getting up the mountain because of those X steps
The curtsy lunges and the X steps, like going up those really steep parts, was not nearly as painful as I was anticipating it, and it's 100% because of all of the fucking lunges that we do in Valkyrie Squad.
I know. I mean, I did post a video of that on my TikTok, but I don't think a lot of people realize like why I programmed things the way I did.
Oh, believe me, my muscles recognized it. My muscles knew exactly what we were doing.
I was like, well, I'm going to write a bunch of lunges and different variations of lunges because maybe someone's not going to climb the mountain. When I was filming all of that, I had not climbed the mountain yet. So like, I was like, okay, we're just going to think about what it's like to climb stairs, to climb a mountain, and we'll create that because I don't know if we'll ever climb a mountain or someone has a mountain that they can climb up. And lo and behold, we have one. We made it happen. So it's there for a reason.
Oh, I 100% recognized exactly what was going on with all of those steps up the mountain. My muscles were like, we've done this before. Like, maybe not, 2,700 steps, but we've done this before.
You're like, yeah, that staircase at home looks like nothing compared to this now.
Exactly.
That staircase of, like, you're at a one-story, that staircase of, like, what, 4 to get up to the front door?
I have porch steps right now, but if I go to the beach downtown, there are, like, the beach steps that go up to the bluffs and everything.
They look like nothing now. So I think I know the answer to this one. Would you recommend the squad?
I do every day. Either on my social media or random people that I know who I run into when I go to town. I tell everybody about it.
I think, do you use your Valkyrie Squad tote?
Yes, actually, I shop at Aldi, and Aldi makes you buy your own bags unless you bring your own bags. And so I bring it with me. It's become one of my grocery bags now because that's the only way I get to use it all the time. So it is one of the bags I bring with me grocery shopping, and I actually get asked about it pretty often.
That's so cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Your story was so amazing to listen to, and thank you for sharing it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and we will see you on another episode very soon.
Oh, I hope so.
Thank you so much to all the Valkyries that shared. Every story is worth telling, and we were reminded to keep reaching out our hands when we need help. Each Valkyrie was able to complete the hike because we were all together. And this week's piece of cauldron-blessed wisdom is to dig deep and channel your inner adventurer. For a bunch of Valkyries at the meetup, the mountain was their very first big adventure they traveled to and completed. Going on adventures can be intimidating and challenging, just like it was for Bilbo and Frodo. But facing them head-on and getting outside of your comfort zone can teach you about yourself while making some incredible memories, like seeing Rivendell, or the Lonely Mountain, or even Mordor. Whether you're facing your fears, reaching for a seemingly impossible goal, or finding your inner circle with the people on your adventure, deciding to climb the mountain can be an incredible and life-changing experience. The action item this week comes from your fellow Valkyrie Explorer and from the Valkyrie Survival Guide item number 13. Look up trails, hikes, waterfalls, or areas to explore locally or for a trip and plan an adventure with your inner circle. Make sure that you prep well by planning your route, gear to be safe, food, snacks, trail difficulty, checking the weather, and familiarizing yourself with the surrounding area. Make sure to take lots of pictures and tag us on Instagram at the Sword and the Ribbon Podcast. We want to see you out there climbing your own mountains. And while you're on your mountain, remember, be strong, kick ass, and be fucking magical every day. This episode was produced by Bex Castro, Mia Garlock, and Carolyn McMorrin. And special thanks to Valkyries Morgan, Anna, Des, Robin, Alista, Cassie, and Mia for sharing their stories on today's podcast episode. Special thank you to Taylor Ash for creating the music of this podcast. And thanks for listening to The Sword and the Ribbon by the Micro Squad. If you're interested in learning more about the Valkyrie Squad, visit us at thevalkyriesquad.com. If you're interested in learning more about the Micro Squad or Geek Gym for a class, visit us at themicrosquad.com. Make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts from so you don't miss out. And if you like this week's episode, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.